Hello, everybody. Welcome back to E20 Zone TV. It's Tuesday. Bank holiday weekend is done and the week starts again. But more rumours have come out about West Ham. And I see something last night about Jared Bowen, which I'm going to talk about. And yeah, let's hope Liverpool stay away from him. Before I get started, please do smash a like on the video and obviously subscribe to E20 Zone TV. Right, let's get into this. Jared Bowen last night. It was brilliant over the weekend. Really, really was. Great goal. He scored a couple of goals now so far this season. And he's looked really, really electric. And rumours are circulating in Liverpool that Mo Salah could be out the door of Liverpool, with Saudis really looking to sort of push for a big bid for him. If that is the case, Liverpool's identified target is Jared Bowen for that sort of right-hand side. Now, whether it's true or not, you make of it what you make of it. But I'm going to be honest, he's on form. He's a good player. He's on the British quota. They're going to get a lot of money from Mo Salah. And if that is the case, they are going to go after Jared Bowen. They've always liked Jared Bowen, and for some reason, they've always sort of stood back. And Klopp is a big fan of Jared Bowen. But I really do hope West Ham stay firm on this one. Do you know what I'm saying? It could be nothing or it could be something, right? But when you start hearing one room and it sort of it starts coming down the cycle and you get to Jared Bowen, then you've got to really start looking at it. Do you know what I'm saying? Um, I don't think it's going to happen, but I'll tell you what, West Ham have got a really, really good player there in Jared Bowen, and we've got to get him tied down to a long-term deal, right? This contract situation is a bit of a problem. There's a little bit of a problem with Jared Bowen. We need to. He kissed the badge the other day, and he's one of them players that we'd hate to see leave. But I am a little bit concerned in regards of why the contract's taking so long not to get done. So I will come to the chat shortly. I will say that. Obviously, let's talk about Pablo Fornals. Also, strong links about him leaving the club. I don't know where to land on this one. I really don't, in regards to Pablo Fornals, because for me, he's never been one of my most favourite players. He really hasn't. I think he's been a decent player for West Ham. Give him that. But if he was to leave and we bring in Jesse Lingard, I think that's just so wrong. That's so wrong on so many levels. I don't really know in this one. It's just like a catch-22 situation for me with Pablo Fornals. It really, really is. I look at him, he's not a left-sided winger. People keep putting him as a left-sided winger. I like him as a attacking midfielder, stroke 10 at best. Do you know what I'm saying? I think Moyes has put him on the left-hand side and sort of really put him in situations where he has been poor from playing out of position. If he does go in this window and you lose Declan Rice and Pablo Fornals in this window, it's going to be a bit of a bitter blow. I think we've all got over the Declan Rice situation, but to go and lose Pablo Fornals right at the end of the window would be a major blow. Obviously, Saudi clubs are looking at him. Someone said to me last night on the space that Pellegrini's looking at him in Betis. So I don't know where to sort of leave it with Pablo Fornals. I think he's a good squad player to have. He's got 1 year left on his deal. He don't look like he's going to sign a new deal at West Ham, so we've got a bit of a problem in regards of, do we sort of be sentimental, keep him here, let him run his contract down and let him go for free next season? Or do we use our brains and go, right, it's time to say goodbye to Pablo Fornals, let him go, do whatever he wants to do? I honestly don't know. Honestly don't know. I am so 50-50 on this one, and this is a player that I've not liked. Alfie loves Pablo Fornals. Some of the other boys do love Pablo Fornals. I've never had that sort of major love for the man. But this is a problem. It really is. And if we bring Jesse Lingard in and take Fornals out, I think that's just not good. Pablo Fornals is the sort of player that you want at your club. Right? He's that sort of good vibe type of guy. And I think bringing Lingard in and replacing him with Fornals it's just not good at the end of the day. Finally, from me, before I get to all your comments in the comment section, Kurt Zuma is another one who's been linked with Saudi. Yeah, I see it the other day, and I'm starting to see like links with centre halves, more centre halves coming to the club. Now, is there a situation where one of our centre halves is going to leave at the end of this transfer window? if that is the case and Zuma does leave, and I wouldn't be opposed to the idea, even though I do like Zuma, he is injury prone, and we do need other centre halves at the club. But are West Ham looking at other centre halves in regards of Kurt Zuma going to a different club? I hope it isn't true, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did decide he wants to up sticks and leave and go to Saudi where the money is. He's done his time in the UK and he's a lot of stick, Kurt Zuma, right? He is captain at present. And, you know, it's going to be a tricky one, like major like blow if we do lose him. Do you know what I'm saying? We've brought in Mavropanos. We've been linked with Harry Maguire again. The thing with the Harry Maguire situation where we're saying about a loan and this and that, it just makes no sense to me. If you're not playing free at the back and no defenders are leaving, we've got more than enough defensive cover there. Like, even if you take Aguerd out for the African Cup of Nations. So I'm not, I don't know on that one. I really don't. I look at Zuma and I think, is he worth selling right now? If a big bid comes in for him, you've got to consider it because he is an injury problem. That's one thing with that man. He is an injury problem. So that's going to be remain to be seen on what happens there. West Ham obviously are looking at other targets. Steiden's in Brazil, currently looking at strikers and everything. So West Ham are moving fast in this sort of current window, and I am quite pleased. Before I do come to the comments, I am quite pleased how fast West Ham are sort of working in this window. They're not mucking about. They're going after identifying players, and Steiden's doing his thing. So I'm going to leave it at that from me. Let's have a look, see what you've got to say. Hi, bro. How are you? Simon, hope you're well, mate. James. Hi, James. Bowen ain't going anywhere. We won't sell him. Yeah, we won't sell him, but Liverpool are looking, though, mate. That's one thing I will say. Liverpool have been on that case for a little while. I know someone I know a YouTuber who's a Liverpool YouTuber, and he said before that Klopp really does like Bowen. And it, for some reason, they've never really needed a player on that side. But if they do go and get rid of Salah, Bowen is the sort of player that they would be looking at. And we've got to be honest, Liverpool, if they come knocking, it's going to be, unless they go, if they're prepared to drop 100 million or 80 million on Bowen, you know what our owners are like. That's the only thing I will say. Let's get down the bottom here. With Lanzini leaving, I thought Fornals could play a role. Do you know what? The Fornals one does baffle me a little bit because I don't see why he would want to leave. He's loved at this club, right? Trust me, I know that. I see so many people loving this man. But for some crazy reason, it's like he's not signed a new deal for some reason. And let's be honest, last season, did he have a lot of game time? No. He wasn't really involved. There was some games where we was crying out for a Pablo Fornals to come on the pitch, and Moyes just wouldn't play him. Just wouldn't play him at all. So I I think there's a lot of I think Moyes has used to use Pablo Fornals all the time. Like, let's be honest, every single time he'd be the first one on the team sheet. Something's happened there. Maybe he doesn't want to go back to Spain, like Black Country Hammer says here. Rumour has it, Fornals wants to go back to Spain. Now, it was mentioned last night on the space that I was doing late last night that Pellegrini at Betis would be looking at him. And obviously, Pellegrini's the man who brought him to West Ham. So if he was to go back to sort of Spain and end up at Betis, which is like not far from Seville, like people keep saying, I see people saying like Fornals to Seville. Obviously, Betis is in the same sort of region. Um, I I think it's going to. I don't know. It's a very hard one that is for me because I think you take out a good personality and you bring in someone who isn't a very good personality in Lingard. I will say that. Thoughts on the possibility of getting closer to bringing in that Corinthian striker? I did see that, but the problem is, right? He's over there and he's trying to do deals with like Brazilians and everything, and it's especially multiple agents and everything else. You just don't know West Ham at the minute. Out of the three people that's mentioned, Pedro, I've seen Pedro play. The one is Alberto. I've never seen him play in my life. And who's the other man? I can't even think of the other man's name. But Pedro, I've seen a little bit of, but they're all sort of, they're not Premier League proven strikers. Let's put it like that. And obviously, we still don't know what's happening with Antonio. So, yeah, if a big club come in for our big players, it means that they are worried about how big we are going to become and the threat we pose. do agree on that. I do agree on that. I think personally this season, I think we're going to have a good season. I've been doing a little bit of scouting on the betting front of seeing what prices I can get for West Ham top six. I'm looking at the best price possible for top six because I actually think the way we've started, and I will get into style of play in a minute, but the way we've started, we look stronger than I've ever seen. Like we look good. We look good in defence. You bring Kudus in. We've got players who've come off the bench now. If you're in a game and basically West Ham have to sort of grind out a win, I fancy us to grind it out. And listen, if West Ham can play any style, i.e., on the front foot, on the back foot, counter attack, whatever, do you know what I mean? As long as we win the games, that's what it is all about. Because I'm fed up with keep seeing West Ham struggling and losing. Do you know what I mean? I want to see West Ham win games consistently. So, we don't have enough midfield cover as it is. Letting Fornals leave is a criminal, and mainly because of Moyes. It's because he won't sign a contract, though, Trini. I will say that. The only problem is that where does he fit, Pablo Fornals? Now, that's a question for the chat. If you was to put him in the team right now, with all the players that we've got, where does Pablo Fornals fit for you? The problem is he's like second or third choice, in my opinion. He's not a left winger. I think when people put him as a left winger, I think they're trying to like shoehorn him into a position which is just not his position at the end of the day. It really isn't. I think as a 10, he could do a job there, and I think he's pretty good at doing that. In a 4-3-3 as one of the midfielders, like an industrial midfielder, a bit like a James Ward-Prowse, like in his role sort of thing, I think Fornals would be brilliant in that role. But I just don't see where Fornals fits anymore. I really don't. And it's a bit of a problem, isn't it? Let's be honest. If Fornals is refusing to sign a new contract, then sell him for 15 million plus. Yeah. El Nesri is the best competition for Antonio. I agree on that. We get El Nesri, mate. I tell you what, I'm excited. Teams won't know which players to cover when we counter as well. Will be so fast, it will worry teams. That's the idea, mate. If I'm being honest, that is really the idea of why I'm not so much against this sort of style of play. Like, best way of sort of summing it up in regards to style of play, so I'm going to talk about it today, is when I looked at Sheffield United the other day against Manchester City, they were defending for their lives. I mean, defending. No attack, defence. They don't had one attack, they scored. Yeah. When I looked at us the other day against Brighton, yeah, we was defending, but we were solid in our sort of defensive ways. And Areola is a goalkeeper that is paid to make saves. And if Areola is being tested and he's making really, really good saves, then I'm all for that. The only question that I have with West Ham, and the only question that I have in regards of with that style, just before I just put this link in here. Let's put this link in here. Bosh. Right. The only question I have in regards to the style, etc., is if we go 1-0 down. That is the only thing that I need answers on. If we go 1-0 down in a game, how do we spin it around, or how do we sort of not lose the game from a losing position? Because at present, when you're going 1-0 up, it's all well and good. Yeah. And I'm the most realist West Ham fan going. If we go 1-0 up, I accept us being defensive minded, yeah, and hitting them on the break because teams are going to come onto us. If we go 1-0 down, then we're going to have to come forward because we're going to have to try and score some goals. But that is on basically the manager, and the manager's got to prove that to me. That's the one thing he has got to prove to me, David Moyes, is how we adapt from a losing situation. If he can do that, then in my honest opinion, he's got my trust because what he's doing at present, he isn't doing anything bad. Do you know what I'm saying? We're in a moment at the minute where we're looking good, and it's funny how 4 weeks ago I was sitting here saying I'm dreading the start of the season. Now on Friday we've got Luton, and I can't wait for it. I really can't. So you know what? Let's get.
Afternoon, big man. How you doing?
All good, mate. Talk to me. What you saying?
Yeah, I just tuned in. I'm working from home today, hence why I'm on. Yeah, I was listening to your bit on Pablo Fornals, and I think it's such an unfortunate situation with Fornals because he's clearly got all the qualities to be a top sort of number 10, or even sort of a left-sided midfielder, to be fair. And he did obviously. He originally worked when we adopted that attacking style under Moyes when he first came in at his first stint in his first full season stint in the 2021 season, and he was a really valued member of the squad. Like you say, one of the first names on the team sheet, hard graft, always put shift in. And I think now the reason why I don't think it's just a simple case of he won't sign a contract. I genuinely think, and we saw it from last year as well, the guy is genuinely gutted not to be playing first team football. Like you saw it in his eyes when he scored that first goal after not being played so long. I can't remember what game it was, but he came on in the final 20, scored that scorpion kick, and he was in tears. And it just shows how he probably has quite a lot going up on in his mental, and I get that. To be dropped pretty much quite abruptly and not play for most of the entire season after starting for 2 years straight, contributing so much, playing those nights in Europe. He was there the whole way, and I think now the problem he's got now is, does he commit to a 3-4 year contract when we've got the likes of Mohamed Kudus coming in, who's obviously going to take that left-sided spot? I mean, there's no place for him in the number 10 role anymore, is there? Like that's Paqueta's spot, and should Paqueta be injured, that's Kudus' spot. And then on the left, obviously, and this is my thoughts on Benrahma, James, and I can be quite critical of the man, but on that left side, it's Benrahma all day for me over Fornals. He just fits. He's just a better left winger.
I understand that, but Fornals has never been a left-sided attacker, though, has he?
No, never. No, he hasn't been. And this is where I understand just his willingness not to sign a contract. It just doesn't. I think for where his heart is, in that he wants to play first team football and he wants to contribute big to a team, I don't think he's gonna. I don't think in his heart he can settle for being a bench warmer and playing, domestic cup games and the lower prized games. I think he wants to be that first name on the team sheet, and he's just not going to get that here anymore, I don't think.
I think this question for you: how do you think West Ham fans are going to react to this, though? Because it's going to be divided, I think.
I think it's going to be more understanding. I think people will get it. I think, say if we sold him tomorrow, let's say for 10 million euros, 15 million euros, that's almost 1/3 of the fee that we paid for him. We got 3 good years out of him. Unfortunately, the case is now he is a fringe player. That's exactly what he is. He doesn't make the first team. There's so many names ahead of him on that team sheet now, especially with Kudus, Paqueta, Benrahma. All the attacking options that we've got, unfortunately, he's been phased out, rightly or wrongly. Personally, I think it's a massive shame because I feel as though he has so much to contribute when played correctly. But I just don't see him having a future with the team, and I think he sees that himself. Hence the reason. And I think fans will be more. I think fans will be frustrated at the fact that we probably didn't get the best out of him, but I think they'll understand in the way that he's been phased out of the squad at this point, pretty much.
Do you know what? It's an hard one with me because me and Alfie have clashed quite a lot when it comes to Pablo Fornals, because obviously on that left side, I've always said side Benrahma. Always have. I've always said like he can attack, he can make something happen out of nothing. But Pablo is more of the more of the sort of genius of passing and finding space and positional play and things like that, whereas Benny's really not. The only problem I have with it is that he's built such a sort of rapport with the fans. Everyone is sort of upbeat at the minute, and then losing him might drop us down a peg. Do you know what I'm saying? Because we're getting rid of a lot of the old guard, really, and who are the people who really are going to step up now?
Yeah, no, that's a good point you're making. But I think Moyes has recognised that, and I think that's why we've seen such strong characters come into the dressing room. Obviously, as players leave, players come in. I mean, we could say like for like. Let's think about big players like Craig Dawson leaves, Mavropanos comes in. Mavropanos is a strong character. He obviously Stuttgart aren't in the best position in the league typically year in year out. They're more often on not in relegation battles. So there's a strong character. Ward-Prowse, I think it goes unsaid. Southampton captain. He's been through the shit and the mud with them for many years. And he's prepared for that. Alvarez, absolute dog of a character, fights for every ball, fights for every chance. Big personality, big name in the dressing room. I think there is an argument for that, and it's a shame because I'm not personally a fan of old guard being shifted out in such quick succession. I think next year as well, obviously it's more than likely Ogbonna's going to be leaving. Aaron Cresswell, Fabianski, yeah, exactly. Lots of names. But I think down to the fact of the situation, and personally, this is purely speculation, I think should we play the three up front going forwards, I think Kudus will be targeted as a left. I think Paqueta will be played in a number 10. And I actually think Benrahma is going to be used as backup to Paqueta more often than not, or Kudus. So say if Paqueta was to go out injured, I think that place would be reserved for either Benrahma or Lingard. And I think that's something that I've not even discussed with Lingard coming in, which, let's face it, that one's going to happen. That will happen.
Yeah, but is it right, though? Is it right to take Fornals out and put Jesse Lingard in when let's be honest, and I can't believe I'm defending Pablo Fornals here, I really can't.
Yeah.
But I will on this one. Is it right to take him out for Lingard, who didn't want to be here in the first place?
No, I don't think so. I think there's a case to be made there. It's not right, is it? Somebody who's stayed with the club, fought for the badge, held bench, done some pretty. He's been through the good and the bad times for now, and he's stuck around for it, never thrown a fit. And for him to be shifted out for Lingard, who left, I do get that point. Yeah.
The thing is, it's the sentimental value again, isn't it? It all goes back to being sentimental.
Yeah.
Now, how many times have I said this on Spaces? Right, that we've got to stop being sentimental. Now I'm sitting here saying exactly the complete opposite, which I shouldn't be saying. But the problem is if from a financial sort of standpoint, it's the right move because you go and get rid of him, you're going to get what, 10, 15 million pounds for him. You bring Lingard in for free. It's good business, isn't it? Let's be honest.
It is. Yeah, no, it is good business. And if we're talking strictly for the club here, let me ask you this, James. Say if there's two realities here. Say one in which we keep Fornals and Lingard don't signs, or one where Lingard signs and we get rid of Fornals. Who do you think would bring more impact to West Ham over 2 years?
Well, after what I've seen of Lingard over the last year, I don't think anyone can really say that this is going to be the same with Jesse Lingard. For me personally, and it does look like the Lingard deal is going to get done. More I'm seeing of it, I see Darmashef earlier, like Tay Talks mentioned it on Twitter, a few other outlets mentioned it. I'm not on it. I'm not on the Lingard thing because I look at him and I think you're only at West Ham because you need to save your career because you're in the mud. Listen, no one's going to touch Lingard really, other than Moyes, and we all know that. Like, who is really going to go out there and say to Jesse Lingard, "Do you want to come and sign for us right now?"
I could imagine some Saudi clubs will probably put offers out, Chinese league, but nothing. I can't imagine that. Let's face it, no Premier League club's going to be in for him. He's not going to go down to the Championship. He wouldn't put himself to that, and I doubt any sort of La Liga or Serie A teams are really going to be targeting 30-year-old Jesse Lingard. But to answer my own question, which I put to you, I do think over the course of 2 years, Jesse Lingard offers more to the team in how we play than Pablo Fornals does. And that's just off the back of how versatile he is. He can play on the left side much better than Pablo Fornals. He can even play up front. He's very direct. If he should, and I trust the club to make the correct decision of is he going to be fit enough after training with us, and does he train well enough to have earned that spot? And if that is the case, then I'll back the club all the way with it.
He might be the right fit for West Ham, but is he the right personality for West Ham right now?
I think so. I think he can come back in, integrate with the squad well. We all know what a character he is. He's really good vibes in the dressing room. And I think what Moyes is doing here as well, it's slightly meticulous, but I do understand it. It seems as though we're getting rid of every single player who is seemingly unhappy or going towards that way. I mean, if you looked at Scamacca was definitely not happy in that dressing room, the rumours around him, and then all of a sudden, snapped up, gone. Back to Italy straight away. It's looking as though we're looking to shift on Ben Johnson now after he's not looking to re-sign the contract, and now subsequently it looks as though we're looking to shift on Fornals as it appears he's not happy. So it just seems as though we're trying to clear out that negativity in the dressing room and bring in players who want to play for West Ham, which I can't really argue with, to be honest.
I think I actually agree with you on that. I really, really do. I don't know though, mate. I don't know. With Lingard, I'm not on the Lingard vibe. I really am not. He's going to have to prove a lot to a lot of West Ham fans. Like, when you see it, he's very divided. I think people have short memories, really. Some people are like, bring him in, is what it is, whatever. So other people are like, look what he's done in the last year. And you're going to take Fornals out.
The thing is, when it's an issue like this, is it's always a philosophical difference rather than a footballing difference. I don't think we're arguing about the football that he can play. I think it's more of a sentimental value of this guy chose money over us. This guy chose Nottingham Forest over us. I think it just falls down to how much you value loyalty, money, etc., etc. The way I see it is, if it's somebody securing money for their family's financial future, I'm in no position to comment about it because I would probably do the same. That's just who I am. But listen, the way I see it, if he's coming back, if he trains hard, if he's willing to hold the bench, which I'm sure he is, just for an opportunity to play back in that West Ham team. And supposedly, according to good sources, I haven't got anything on this, but ex-West Ham employee has confirmed that supposedly he's turned down other offers for other clubs who've come in for him. So that kind of sweetens it up for me a little bit. It makes it a little bit more sweeter to think, you know what, maybe he does really want to come back and give it a go. Maybe he did realise that he made a mistake. And yeah, I'm all here for it. Listen, I think it would be a good bit of business. I don't think we'll even get half the player that we got in that loan spell. But even if we can just get a player who has a couple of substitution appearances that are impactful, I think that's enough for me.
Alan Dunn, all the way over in Australia. I hope you're well, mate. My question is, James, how would we feel if we sold Fornals to sign Lingard, and after he's gone to a Saudi club, made a play for him, and he pisses off again? Let's face it, he has done it before. Very true. If we give him the platform, imagine that. We give him the platform, he comes in, he goes back to Lingard a couple of years ago. He gets us up the league, and then he decides that money talks again, he's out the door again. The problem is with the Lingard situation is if David Moyes wasn't here, there's no way Lingard would be even mentioned at West Ham. Wouldn't even be like,
that's true. Yeah, he's a Moyes player, isn't he? It seems to me that obviously Moyes does value loyalty a lot, and well, it's kind of ironic in this case, but obviously Lingard played under Moyes at United, and I think Moyes has that relationship with ex-players in which he's always eager to get one of them come back and throw for him. Yeah. So I do get that to an extent.
I'm gonna throw some names out to you, right? And I want you to tell me if you think they're going to be here or not. I don't know why, but I keep having a feeling that Fabianski might not be here towards the end of the window. I don't know about you. I think he's not happy, but can he handle it for a season playing cup football? Yeah. But I'm going to say Cresswell. Do you think Cresswell's going to be there towards the end of the window?
I do. Personally, I think Cresswell's going to be here till at least winter. The same with Fabianski. Whilst there's been nothing officially come out against Fabianski being unsettled. I think that one's definitely going to be brewing. We clearly saw that he came out on that podcast and said that he was quite displeased to see Areola play in front of him. Whilst there's not anything come out that he'd be looking to force a move, I don't think he is going to. But I think this is the type of thing we'd probably look to revisit in the winter window. The same with Cresswell. The thing is with Cresswell as well. Again, it's homegrown. It's homegrown quota, and I believe David Moyes has actually become quite smitten with Emerson playing at left back. He's quite happy for him to do that job. Hence why we're not targeting that position so much anymore. I believe if there is going to be a player to come in and Cresswell is to leave, that one would be Ian Maatson of Chelsea.
Good player,
homegrown, again, homegrown opportunity for a loan with an option to buy. It makes sense. I think that's one to look out for on deadline day.
If that's a loan with an option to buy, how much is the option to buy on that?
Probably be in the range of 20 to 25 million British pounds.
Good. I think he's a very good player. But when I was in Burnley about 6 weeks ago, as I say, I was talking to a lot of Burnley fans, and they can't rave about that kid enough. They said that they really wanted him back, and he was excellent for them last season. He really, really was. I'm going to get to this quickly. Robert, thank you very much for becoming a member of E20 Zone TV. I really do appreciate it from me and all the boys. Next name for you that I'm going to ask you. Tilo Kehrer, another person who keeps getting sort of little mentions about he might want to go back to Germany.
For as much as I see that one mentioned, I personally think he stays. I think his versatility is valued within the squad. I think he's quality backup for the right back position and centre half. I don't particularly believe we're targeting him to leave. We're open for him to leave should the right offer come in. Obviously, we had rumours from Bayern Munich sniffing around.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a case of Fornals or Danny Ings in which we're actually looking to get these guys out of the squad and moved on quickly. It's more a case of the exact same with Maxwell Cornet, in which should the right offer come in, it will most certainly be entertained.
Danny Ings, then might as well get to him.
Interesting one. So the Everton news is and speculation is real. Sean Dyche definitely values the player. It's an interesting one because it's the case of will they match his wages, and as well, does Danny Ings even want to move?
Did he work with him at Burnley?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I thought he did.
Yeah. The problem is with that one that I think is going to become quite prevalent as it breaks more widely. I don't think Danny Ings actually wants to leave from West Ham. He's on a 2-year deal from December onwards. We pay him good wages of about 125,000 a year. I don't think Everton are going to want to match that in what they're able to give him, just due to their financial strain at the moment. And obviously, they have just signed Beto for 28 million. But it is to be said as well, Sean Dyche is looking for a strike partnership, and a lot of his forwards that he has bought this window haven't cut it for him. Or the players that he's inherited haven't cut it for him. If you actually watch Everton as of recent, especially the most recent game against Wolves, they create so many chances, but they're just so unable to put them away. So still, even with the signing of Beto, I wouldn't count that one out just yet.
So we get to a couple of comments. First off, Johnny Mack. While we're talking about getting rid of players, we have to build a squad and rotating players if we want European football. I agree on that, but Danny Ings for me is not the future of West Ham. Like, there's a reason why Steiden's in Brazil. Let's be honest. Like, he's over there trying to find a striker. So,
well, we've got to look at the requirements of the squad as well. As we near the 25-man capacity, we've got one spot left for a non-homegrown player. For me, that one coming in will be Yuri Alberto. But then after that, we're at full capacity. We need to either get rid, and it's not going to be ideal to get rid. Well, we physically can't get rid of Danny Ings unless we have a homegrown replacement. So should that happen, we would probably need Jesse Lingard signed in and ready before that. And we would have to get rid of a non-homegrown player before we'd even be able to do that. So it's quite a tricky situation at the moment. We definitely need to get rid of a fringe player who is also non-homegrown in order to make that happen.
That's a bit weird, though, isn't it? Like, if we're nearly at the capacity and they're going to go for 3 players, because what it is reported that we're going to go try and get a left back, a striker, and there's someone else. I think even a right back was even mentioned the other day. Do you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
like, to go, is that 25-man squad including Kudus and all?
Yeah, so we've got one space left, including Kudus. As EA's just pointed out as well, Ings could be even offered a long contract by Everton, which could actually sweeten the deal. But it's just if the player's prepared to take a dip in wages for a longer contract, so more money over a longer period of time, or sitting with West Ham on a 2-year contract and raking the 125 grand a year.
Elite, how are you doing? If you're there.
Hello, James.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I was going to come in with some transfer information, but something's come up. But what I have got to say is Pablo Fornals is going to be leaving. He's going to be leaving West Ham, and it pains me to say it. But I think if a club comes in with 20 million, we'd be silly not to accept it, and we should use that money and spend it on some top Brazilian talent. Do you know what I mean? And some top English Brazilian style talent in the form of Jesse Lingard, baby. Get the boy back home. Get him back home. Jesse Lingard. Come on.
Fair enough.
Fantastic
analysis there. Elite, let me ask you something about Fornals. Are you surprised that Harris come to this day with him? Really?
I think the problem is, last year you would have looked to give him a new contract, and you can't blame him for taking one up when he's not playing week in, week out. The problem is, with a year left now, it's make or break. And I think I don't think the club are trying to sell him. I think they still, with the money being touted, they could still get good money for him in January. But I mean, clearly Moyes likes him. Moyes does like him, no matter what people try and say. Moyes is a big fan. He always trusts him off the bench as well. It'd be a big loss for the squad if this guy did go. Big loss for the fans as well. He's West Ham through and through. But listen, if a club's coming in with 20 million, which we don't know if they are yet, but if a club is coming in with 20 million, then that's good money, you know.
You've got to say it feels the right move as well, especially in how he's been treated last season. The guy could barely get a sniff at the first team. He's clearly upset by it, somewhat distraught, you know, in tears after scoring that goal.
Yeah, but the question I have to that is why? Because it last season was weird. Yeah, there were so many games last season where we needed a Pablo Fornals on the pitch, and he just wouldn't. Like Moyes just wouldn't play him at all. I mean, like wouldn't even get him on as a sub. Ever, really. Do you know what I'm saying?
We see 90 minutes out of a week.
True.
And I'm not saying Fornals was shit in training or anything. The thing is, we just don't know. We don't know what his attitude was like. We don't know how he trained. We don't know.
Perhaps he's had relations with one of Moyes' family members. You never know.
Happened before. He's got a good-looking daughter. So you can't... I don't want to speculate about Fornals because he served us really well. But at the same time, you know, I guess it is a mystery. We just don't know. I don't want to speculate either way, say Moyes hates him or something. We just don't know.
It's strange, isn't it? Because I remember the game after AZ Alkmaar, where he scored that brilliant goal and sealed us to the way to the final. David Moyes in an interview was actually asked about Pablo Fornals and what that goal meant to him and why he hadn't got more playing time. And Moyes seemed quite belligerent about it. It was quite strange. He was a little bit, you know, up in angst over it. You could tell he was a little bit uncomfortable by that question. He seemed to say sort of, well, you know, it's just getting the playing time for these boys, etc., etc. But similar to what you said, James, I saw many moments in the season prior where he could have been utilised as an impact sub, but it just wasn't done. But like Elite says, you know, we only see 90 minutes compared to an entire week of training talking with the manager, talking with the coaches. So, you know,
Do you
it's a
think?
bit of a mystery, yeah.
Do you think with him having a child, I'm going to put this out there, has sort of made him realise that he wants to spend his sort of final end of his career in Spain or elsewhere?
He's not.
Like,
He's not 35, James.
I understand he's not 35. Don't get me wrong, but when you have a family, sometimes the missus tells you what to do, and you do as you're told. And that's basically it. Do you know what I mean?
I
So-
disagree. I think if he had regular football at West Ham, I don't think there'd be any of these rumours. I think with what I've seen of him and how much he loves the club, how settled he used to see him, I don't think a family changes that. Personally, for me, I feel like when you love a club that much and you're getting on so well and you seem so happy, I don't think that can change it. I feel like obviously if Pablo's was happy at that time, surely his missus and his family would have been. I mean, you would have seen it otherwise. It would be somewhat prevalent. So I genuinely just think it's the lack of first team football. That's what I put it down to.
Let's look at what we know about the deal, by the way. What people are saying online is not Pablo Fornals has handed in transfer requests. What we're seeing is clubs are interested in Fornals, as they would be. He's a very good player. We've not seen him force a move. We've not seen offer accepted. Right now, I got a bit carried away with the Lingard stuff before. It's all very up in the air. We don't know anything either way. And I'd be very surprised if Fornals handed in a transfer request. And on the same coin, I'd be very surprised if Moyes wanted to sell him. So to be totally honest, despite what I said 5 minutes ago, I don't think Fornals is probably going to go. Unless a really good offer comes in from Saudi Arabia, for example. But I think realistically, he's probably going to stay. A few comments as well on Jesse Lingard. I commented it in the thing. A lot of people call him money grabbing, etc. He was offered a worse contract by Nottingham Forest. Fact. Everyone, you know, it was all reported wrong, and there were some big journalists making big claims about him, saying he's on 250 grand a week. All nonsense. He was on 120 grand a week at Forest, which was around the same amount of money. He was offered a 1-year deal, but he really believed in the project. You know, he was pitched a big sell by the chairman's owner. The CEO.
Sorry, Ali, I got to ask you on that one. You really think that he chose the project of Nottingham Forest over West Ham United when we had European football? You believe that?
Yeah.
So honestly, and I think what we offered him was probably squad player. You know, we're still looking to bring in another player. But what I think they pitched him was, you can be the main man at our club. We'll build a team around you. It didn't work out that way for various different reasons. But I think he really bought into that. And he was not. You can look it up, Google it. Everyone, go right now, new tab. Yeah, don't shut this down because you don't want to switch off your view. Google Jesse Lingard wage.
Before I'm going to Google it, I had it on. I could have sworn it was up to 180 to 200,000 pounds a week.
That's what I thought it was.
That's what I heard it was.
Massive misconception, guys. Huge misconception. It's really sad.
Where have you got 125,000 from?
Google it. Google it
No,
right now.
All right.
Well, why say Google's it? I'm just going to say this. I understand what you're saying about Lingard, but it's the way. It's not so much how he done it; it's the way he done it in sort of a perspective. Like when West Ham have sort of given him help over the last 2 years. Don't get me wrong; he helped us. He did, right? He really did. But the question I have is like, what is he going to do that's going to benefit us this season? Like he's done nothing for the last year.
You said it yourself there. He owed nothing to us. We owed our thanks to him, because without him signing on loan, we wouldn't have been in the Europa League last year, got to the semi-final, signed Paqueta, we wouldn't have won the Conference League. You know what I mean? It's a big butterfly effect, so I've got nothing but thanks for him. You know, he's been part of this journey that we've been on under David Moyes. But
Are you Jesse Lingard's brother, Lisa? Can I just say,
100% you are.
From what Ali is saying, it actually does look as if the wages weren't actually too far off from what he was quoting there.
Right. So what is it? So what is being said then?
Let me read out the actual thing. So supposedly, this is from the Telegraph, Nottinghamshire Live. The suggestion has now been questioned. According to the Telegraph, Lingard was offered a salary of £127,000 a week at West Ham, along with a signing on fee of nearly £1 million. It is said that at Forest, Lingard was earning a basic salary of £80,000 a week plus add-ons. It had previously been reported that could see him earn £120,000 a week should the add-ons have been achieved. It said that he was impressed with the club's determination to sign him this summer, as well as how he fit into the style of play under Steve Cooper. So pretty nailed on with that, Elite.
It's a massive misconception. It's really wound me up seeing it for the past year and a half, even, you know, him getting booed and stuff. This is not a guy who left for money. This is a guy who left because he thought Nottingham Forest was the right place to take his career. He fucked up. Don't get me wrong. He clearly fucked up. But this guy is not some money-grabbing twat. This is a young, hungry professional.
So he's just a stupid twat then. He's not a money-grabbing twat.
Well, listen, I wouldn't call someone who's given someone... I mean, the problem
Listen, I am being a little bit hype about it. Listen, I was absolutely fine with him even taking more money from West Ham when I thought that was the case. I don't have a problem with Lingard. I actually really like the signing. I completely agree.
Go on. I just want to hear what Elite's got to say in regards to that.
I think the season he played for us, I went to the Southampton game. The season he played for us, no one really got to see him play. No one got to see how good he was in person. You didn't have that memory. You watched it on TV and went, brilliant, amazing, yeah. You watched TV. You didn't get that real experience of seeing him dancing in the corners, scoring goals every single week. This guy was unbelievable for us. I remember the Wolves game, I went, fucking hell, this guy's better than Payet. He was obscene for us, but we didn't really get to see it. So we didn't have that connection, human to human connection. And I think that's why it's very easy to sort of dehumanize him and forget what he'd done for us.
Let's be honest, dear, yeah. And I don't always agree with Elite, but I do agree with him on that. What you just said about he did play like Payet type football. He was unreal. And if we'd have had him at the start of the season, God knows where West Ham would have ended up. Because if he would have been like that, and let's be honest, when he came to West Ham, no one really gave him a chance. Like we're not really giving him a chance now. So it's sort of, he has got a point to prove. He really has, Jesse Lingard. Right. The only thing I don't like with him is it's just if you're getting rid of Pablo Fornals for him, it's like you're taking away a sort of person who really does love the club to a person who is only really here because he needs his career saving. Let's be honest, his career's in the mud.
But James, as I said, mate, I don't think we're trying to get rid of Pablo Fornals. I think that would be sort of the last thing the club want. But if a team's coming in with 25 million, Saudi Arabia offering him quadruple his wages, it's hard to stand in the way of that. I don't think we want to sell Pablo Fornals. I don't think that.
I don't think we do, but I feel as though we're being somewhat not forced to, but it just more makes sense to if he's not going to sign a contract. I think it's the smartest thing to do.
I agree on that.
Probably next year he's not going to see much game time given how competitive our front three is.
See, the thing is our hands being forced into sort of selling Fornals because we haven't really got a lot of choice. Like, because if he's going to sit there and he ain't going to get many game times, and does he really want to be playing cup competitions? I don't think he does. You've also got a Euros coming up for Spain, where he's going to want to try and get into that. So I do think our hands are being forced a little bit into sort of we either play the geezer or we sell him.
You're right, James, but it's important to note he's not handed in a transfer request. He's not asked to leave. You know, no one's reporting that. Nowhere is reporting that. I don't think anywhere will report that. So like, I'm not saying you're wrong, but be careful what you're saying because this is a consummate professional. This is a guy who's given us loads, and who will continue to give us lots more if he stays. But this is not a guy who throws toys out of the pram, force a move. The player that I think is going to go this week, and Tay disagree with me here, but I can't see Tilo Kehrer staying. I don't think I think Ben Johnson is probably above him in the pecking order for right back. If Tilo Kehrer is our backup right back, that's worrying.
How can you say? I don't get how you can say that though. When he's been ever since we've employed Tilo Kehrer, he's been chosen over Ben Johnson at every single opportunity to play right back.
You've sort of got to play him, but you're right. But
I agree with you on the basis of I actually like Ben Johnson. For as much as people really got on his case last year, I think he's an absolute inspiration to some of the youth team coming through at West Ham. I think it's a massive shame we can't get him on a new contract. I think that he's fantastic homegrown talent, and I still think he has something to offer given regular game time. But I think you can't argue that Thilo Kehrer is more likely out the door just given how much he was utilised last season in comparison to Ben Johnson.
Why
But
do you
that's why
think, just to say this, Elite, yeah, why do you think Thilo won't be here?
I think if you look at our fully fit squad, he doesn't make the bench. Or he maybe scrapes on some weeks. And I think for a German international, that's not where he wants to be in his career. He needs to be a regular starter, if not an important player, you know. And he's not going to get that at West Ham apart from in Europe, maybe. And I don't think he particularly suits his Moyes' system. Imagine him in that low block versus Brighton. He would have really struggled. I think it was a bit of an odd signing. It was a bit of buying into this whole possession stuff when we bought like Flynn Downs, etc. Players that just sort of don't really suit Moyes' ball. And I think it's going to be one that if an offer comes in, will bite their hands off this week. I really can see it happening because I just don't think he's good enough either. I think at right back, Soufal's on a different level, and I think he's not particularly better than Ben Johnson at right back. And people are going to kick off at me for that, but I think I like to believe in our youth, and I like to believe in homegrown West Ham players.
I like that. No, I do like that.
And I think I'd rather his minutes at right back, which I don't see him getting many minutes at centre half either. He's pretty much fifth choice centre back now. His minutes at right back should go to Ben Johnson instead.
So basically, what you're saying is then, because obviously Mavropanos can play right back and all, can't he?
Yeah.
So, and
That's
people
true.
don't really.
I think it's dependent as well as can we bring Ben Johnson to the table and actually get him to sign another contract?
He ain't signed a deal, mate.
No.
He really isn't, and I know that through fact. Someone who I know said to me, and I know very, very well, so he's been offered multiple deals, yeah, and he wants the same wage as Cresswell. He wants the same money as Cresswell, and Cresswell's been here. Don't forget, Cresswell's been here a long, long time, yeah. And he wants to. I'm not sure how much Cresswell's on, but he wants something like 50, 60 grand a week, and he's just not worth it. Like Ben's just not worth that at the end of the day. And the reason why he's still here, Ben Johnson, is because West Ham have activated a clause in his contract, basically saying they will they would want him here for an extra. I think it's an extra 2 years. And he done 1 year last year, and this year's his final year. So I understand what Elite's saying about Thilo Kehrer, but when I look at Ben Johnson, I think just get rid of Ben Johnson myself. I really do.
I think you'll see if Ben Johnson goes somewhere else, this is a talent.
What do you feel? Where do you feel? Premier League club?
I think there's a reason why Southampton are interested in him, because this guy in a few years he's going to be a real good player. This is an England under-21 international, and no matter what you felt about him last year, I think he was a bit scapegoated. To be honest, I thought he had some really good performances. Newcastle always springs to mind. And I think if we're in the business of letting England under-21 internationals go, someone who can play across the back line, then we fucked up there, definitely. This is a good player, regardless.
I've got to agree as well, considering he's homegrown as well. I feel as though when you've got the assurances that he actually can do a job to an extent and has that, but he still has a ceiling.
But the problem is we're in a situation with Ben, where do we leave it a year and he walks for free? So you've got to look at it from a financial aspect and all. Don't get me wrong. I understand what Elite is saying, but if this man's not prepared to sign a new contract, then we've got to do the right thing by the club, innit? Really,
unless you can convince him this year in the amount of game time that he gets.
But you're not though, mate, because Mavropanos can play right back. He can, and if West Ham play, just for argument's sake, West Ham play going to be Mav, Nath, Zuma. Yeah, so Ben Johnson's going to be nowhere near it, right? If we play with wing backs, arguably Ben Johnson has a right wing back, maybe, yeah, maybe because he at least he can get up and down the pitch. but he ain't going to be. It's like, what's the point keeping him if he doesn't want to be here? That's the argument.
You're right, James. I think this will be a deadline day kind of decision, and I think if, let's say, Kehrer does go, it'll be a lot easier for us to, get him on a new contract at the end of the window.
See, I agree with you on that.
That's
Ali.
what I agree. That's what I'm thinking of.
I agree with him. I agree with him on that. Just say this to you, yeah, Squitter, yeah. I agree with what Leek just said there, because if Tilo does go, it gives the opportunity to Ben to say, "Well, I've let one right back go. It's down to you to fight with Kafal for that spot." And if Mavropanos is a right back, not for me, he's a centre half, but as a player, he needs to be given the confidence to say, "Well, here you go. I'm giving you the opportunity." But it's whether or not he signs the deal, though, mate.
I still think there's a trick there with Ben Johnson. For as much as you two are sure that he goes on deadline day, I do think that Tilo Kehrer is the more likely of the two to go. I think an offer will come in for him as well. He's highly rated in Germany.
Is it
many clubs sniffing around? No, he is. He's obviously, he originally came through at
Schalke.
Schalke, yeah, massive talent. He was touted to be 40 to 50 million when he moved to PSG. And then obviously fell behind in the rankings at PSG. Get a little bit of a similar situation to what he's got now at West Ham. So yeah. I think should Tilo go, I think that should speak somewhat a bit of volumes to David Moyes. And let's not forget, we've got Mark Noble here. Mark Noble has an impeccable relationship with Ben Johnson. And I feel as though that just gives Mark Noble more bargaining chips to work with should we actually free up that position from Tilo Kehrer to bring him to the table for a new deal.
So let me ask you both then. If you're saying Ben Johnson's going to go, is there anyone else who's going to go by the end of the week?
For me, I think Pablo Fornals will leave. I think that's the most likely. For as much as Elite disagrees, I think that one to me doesn't almost seem certain. But if I had to pick anybody to leave, I would pick Pablo Fornals. I think that's most likely. I think with Jesse Lingard being planned to come through, taking out a non-homegrown player for a homegrown player, and arguably somebody who fits our system a lot more, to me, it's a no-brainer. And I'm sure Moyes has already thought about that.
I think the most likely player who I would bet my house on leaving is Aaron Cresswell. I think obviously we wanted £5 million for him from Wolves. I think we were trying to pull their pants down a bit there. I think Cresswell's definitely going to go, especially if we're going to bring in the left back. I think we'll actively try and sell him. I can see us going back to Wolves, to be honest, and saying, guys, you know what, you 2.5, what about 3 million? I can definitely see us trying to sell him desperately because we want to bring in a better left back. And it'll be a shame to see Chris go, but he's over the hill now. This whole saga with the Wolves thing, I think that'll piss off a lot of fans if we see him starting again later in the season. We need someone better in that position, someone who can really challenge Emerson.
I had forgotten about that one, but yeah, that one does probably seem quite likely.
He's going to go, Chris. Real shame. Love the geezer. He's going to be well missed.
It's a shame he's not getting a testimonial. I think that's a massive shame he's not had a testimonial in this past year. I really do. I think we missed the trick with that one.
Do you think he's done it himself, though, in regards to some of the things, though, that I'm going to ask you this question, because if you look at this a year ago, everyone would have said about Cresswell going, fair enough, all right, and everyone would have been all right, whatever. Now it's like people, and I see it in the chat and I see it on Spaces, people actually really can't wait to get this geezer out the door because of what he's done recently in regards to going on strike.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's not good, is it? I think he's definitely he's costing himself a few favours and things like that. But we should look fondly on this guy. This is a guy who's really given it all to West Ham. He's been with us through the ups and the downs, and whenever he was in the downs or whenever we were in the downs, he was always one of our better players, giving it his all. And Cresswell, he's going to be really fondly remembered by myself and I think many others, and we shouldn't just judge him based on a bad couple of weeks.
Possibly.
I do feel as though 9 years kind of just trumps out a bad 3 weeks for me.
Yeah. See, I agree on this comment from Barry, yeah. Nunes is going to go in from Wolves to City, then they will have the money for Cresswell. And that's, I actually believe that also. I think once that is a done deal, then it frees up the money to go and get Cresswell in. I don't know why they want Cresswell, but they can have him if they want him.
Especially on deadline day. Especially that's got deadline day written all over it. Pulling negotiations to the final sort of leg and getting a deal done. Yeah, I think you're quite spot on with that comment.
So basically, then
this week about and players being sold and stuff. Just keep your patience, guys. We'll be all right. The other player going, definitely Maxwell Cornet. What the hell was that signing all about? Moyes doesn't like him. The geezer lives offside. That'll be a nice, easy one to get out the door. Hopefully, we can make a bit of money back. But yeah, he won't be missed.
Would you loan him out to someone for a season?
Ideally not, but I think to be honest, I think that's probably the only deal we're going to get. I don't think clubs are going to spend like 10, 15 million on him. And we're not going to sell him for like 5 million. So we probably will end up loaning him.
I think we keep that one. Popular, kind of contrary to popular belief, I think it's not in our interest to sell him. I think he's quite versatile in the roles that he can play from right wing, left wing, forward. I think it's good versatility, good depth. I don't think it makes sense to sell him, especially after purchasing him for, I think it was a package up to sort of £20 million.
18 mil it was.
18 million.
We've got to sell one of him for now.
That's bad. I just think that's awful business. I don't think you can justify selling it. Because let's think, what type of transfer fee do you think realistically Maxwell Cornet could fetch?
Not a lot.
Exactly. And I don't think you can justify that on the books. I think that even David Sullivan would be hesitant to sign that one off, especially given it's a Will Salthouse client and just doesn't look good on the books.
More money for the agent though if he goes. I think the thing I note about Cornet is up top, I'd rather have Mubama as third choice above him. And we're probably going to sign a Brazilian fella up front as well. So he's even further down the pecking order. On the right wing, he's not an appropriate challenger to Bowen. I think Kudus as well coming in. He'll probably be good backup on the right as well. And then left wing as well. Kudus is over him. Benrahma, Fornals if he stays. There's no space in the squad for him. We're a bit overloaded with players. If Fornals goes, maybe there's a spot for him. Assuming Ings goes as well. But again, you bring in the striker, Cornet, I think he's definitely gone. I'm going to go, guys. All the best. Take it easy. Thanks
Take it easy, man.
Subscribe. Hit the...
Take care, man. Sorry, Lee, I just cut you off by mistake. I do apologise. Carry on, Tay.
I was going to say something. I can't remember. Yeah, go on. Go ahead.
I understand what you're saying about Cornet. For me, we do need... It's an interesting one with Cornet because you've got Danny Ings, who, let's be honest, does not fit West Ham's style of play. Right? He's just not the man. Yeah, he needs to go, really. If you're going to get him out, you need to get him out now. Yeah, and just take a loss on it. I think Cornet is a sort of player you can bring in. He can do a load of different positions. He can play left wing back. He can go centre forward. He can go left wing. But the problem is he hasn't impressed no one, has he? Let's be real.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Especially with Kudus coming in now as well, it's going to be a case of, say, Bowen, for whatever reason, was injured on that right side. Kudus will slot right in there. I don't care if he's been used as a number 10. I don't care if he's been used on the left. They'll shift him to the right wing. We'll probably play Betty on the left, and then we'll obviously have Antonio or even Alberto up front, should we get that one done. So I do agree with what Elite's saying, but it just, to me, it's going to be such a hard transfer to justify. I don't see us getting more than 8 million for him. What a disappointing signing. I don't think it was even bad business. It just never quite worked out for him, did it?
Are you not at all worried about Antonio going, are you?
Worried, not really, because if he were to go, we'd probably get a fee that is far above probably what we could have ever expected for him. But in terms of how valuable Antonio is to us, yeah, it does worry me, because should we shift on Antonio and bring in Yuri Alberto, should that one not work out, you've got two options. You've got Danny Ings, who obviously is fucking useless, and for at least this team, or you've got Divin Mabama, and I'd love to see Divin Mabama afforded every single opportunity possible, but let's face it, the kid's 18. Like, you can't expect that. You can't expect him to play week in, week out in the Premier League and bang goals for fun. I'd love it, but I don't think he's ready for that yet.
I think on the Antonio one, I think El Nesri is not far away, if I'm being honest. Like they just cannot leave him alone. It's a bit like the Lingard thing with Moyes. It's the same thing with El Nesri. Every time there's a window, El Nesri is the man who seems to get mentioned. I think West Ham will go for two players, two sort of strikers. I think, especially if Ings goes.
Actually, James, you are actually spot on there. So the Yuri Alberto deal is actually not subject to the Nesri deal. They're still going on, both of them.
And that will say to me one thing: if a deal is in place for a striker or two, Antonio goes.
Yeah, no, spot on.
Which for me, I don't know if I'm saying this at all. If he goes, then that is a major.
It's a big shift, isn't it? It's very big, but then you've got to think what fantastic business that could be. Say if we fetch 15 million euros for a 34-year-old Mikel Antonio, and we can put even 2/3 of that on the Nesri deal. That is unbelievable business. Unbelievable business.
It is really. I'll be honest. Before I come to the end, give me a number. How many transfers in and out for you?
Remaining's come in, and this is actually going to include loans as well. I'm going to say 3 altogether. I'm going to go for 2 forwards and a left back.
I don't think the 2 forwards are on the cards. All right, he's over in Brazil now. Like, he's looking at 3 players. Now, if you're not looking for a striker, you'd go for 1 player. He's going for multiple targets to try and get it done. I think the Lingard deal gets done, but that is not subject to
sorry, I wasn't in. I'm assuming that one gets done after the window closes.
I think it does get done after the window closes. Yeah. So 3 in, left back is definite must. I think Cresswell goes. I'll be gutted if Fornals goes, but I can understand it. Don't get me wrong. I think Cornet can't go, if I'm honest, because if we lose IE, just for argument's sake,
I don't think someone's going to come in for him, mate, unless Everton can muster up some transfer kitty and put money down on him. Because let's not forget, he played under Sean Dyche. Is Burnley. He's quite quite highly rated and quite highly valued by Sean Dyche. So whilst there's not been official inquiries, it would not surprise me if Sean Dyche, given the transfer kitty, could put down a little bit of money for him on transfer deadline day. So that's definitely one that could happen.
I'm going to get to this comment from Mike, to sort of round up this video. Is Steidon a legend in the making? And what a perfect man to have on to talk about Steidon. Right.
Listen, Tim Steidon, whilst it's fantastic, he's the poster boy, isn't he now? One thing I will say about Steidon, the man is a fantastic ambassador. He can sell a project. He clearly knows how to talk to players, clearly knows how to get people on side, and clearly knows how to close deals. We've never seen West Ham work at this type of speed. The guy's working in weekends. He's jetting out. He's getting work done. Whilst obviously it's quite clear-cut that he has to do this because we're so late into the window and things are moving fast now. But this guy is just fantastic. I can tell you now, the guy's a fantastic ambassador for the club and he's a fantastic negotiator. But what I will say is, let's not forget the work of Mark Noble and let's not forget the work of David Moyes. Especially, obviously, we've seen with the Alvarez deal and the Kudus deal, both were actually Mark Noble targets. Both of these players were scouted by Mark Noble, and both of these players were given the green light by Mark Noble. So whilst it's Steidon who gets on the jet and gets these deals done and closes the negotiations, let's give everybody in the backroom staff all the credit for this because it's a team effort.
Well, first off, I agree. The Mark Noble getting Alvarez is a work of genius. Really is. Like, Alvarez is going to be special at West Ham. It really is. I think Steidon is cooking something, like, very much so. And listen, I'm going to talk about the style of play with you, Waimea, in a minute. But for me, when I do look at West Ham, we're getting deals done fast. We've got alternative targets. We're not going for cheap and cheerful signings. Like, let's be honest, if you go back 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, when we was all disappointed about not getting Borges, and then we end up getting Alvarez and Kudus from Ajax. Like, it's stuff that really it's hard to believe. Really, West Ham getting these players. Do you know what I mean? Going to Ajax and getting two of their best players.
Oh, it's
And
phenomenal. Yeah, if you told us a couple of weeks back that this was going to be the case, I mean, whilst I was optimistic, I didn't think we'd be able to work at the speed to get these type of players in. It's phenomenal.
And for me, when I do look at us, and I look at Stoaden, and also just to say, going off of Stoaden for 1 second, I'm going to give David Moyes a bit of credit. Yeah, he's the man who identified James Ward-Prowse. He's the man who said, "Go and get me James Ward-Prowse. I want James Ward-Prowse at West Ham." So you've got to give him some credit for that, because what a signing that has been. Like £30 million for a player, Premier League proven. He scored a goal the other day. He assisted 2 goals against Chelsea.
The right man for the job, wasn't he? The right man for the job, definitely.
He was the right man for the job, but I think what it was, I was very sceptical with James Ward-Prowse. I really was. But when I look at him now, and I look at the players that are around him, I think he could be. I think that £30 million is money very much well spent.
It's not looking like much now, isn't it? Two assists and a goal on his first 2 games for us. Fantastic.
And what I'm liking about him is he's diverse. He can sort of do a lot of other things, like some of the balls over the top. Now, for me, I understand why West Ham are going down this sort of pace factor with Kudus, Bowen, Cornet, Benrahma. Because I think where West Ham are going to try and go on the break against teams, and this is where it's going to lead into sort of like style of play and everything. I don't mind that as long as we've got pace on the break. Like even Jesse Lingard, for instance. If West Ham turn the ball over in midfield, break on a team, and we've got Jesse Lingard, Bowen, Kudus running literally square on the opposition's goal. Like, do you know what I mean? Like the Red Arrows.
Yeah,
Then,
I think Ward-Prowse is just so pivotal to this team now. He's like the heart and soul of everything that we do in attack. It's just brilliant. It's phenomenal.
He's like Mark Noble. He's a Mark Noble type player with a bit more assist mentality. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the only thing I can say. Like, and I'm going to talk about the style of play, and we're going to talk about sort of round this up, because we are going to round this up in about 9 minutes' time. Tay, talk to me about the style of play, yeah? Because we had discussions on Spaces. I've had many rows with different people. I had a row the other day, which I'm going to say quite openly right now. I've got no ill feeling towards anyone, but I can't keep hearing the same old crap over and over again. I really can't. Style of play or winning football? Tell me what is more important.
Obviously, of course, winning football. Honestly, I just want to go back off the most recent game. Let's just talk about Brighton. Brighton were absolutely devastating. If you watched their first 2 games, absolutely devastating. Played fluid, liquid football. Absolutely did over. Was it Liverpool? Did they play Liverpool?
No, Luton and Wolves.
Luton and Wolves absolutely done them over completely. I think it was 4 goals plus in the Luton game, wasn't it? But we continually repelled them by West Ham's just simple, strong structure as a defensive unit, discipline. And we definitely frustrated them in that first half. We absolutely just killed the game off for them, to be quite honest. And I think, if you look at the way that we were able to target, Webster with Antonio on that flank, absolutely punished them every single time. And even ex-West Ham employee put a tweet out similar to this, and I thought it at the time. That goal created by Antonio, Benrahma and Bowen for the second, in which Bowen put away, if that's prime Barcelona putting away that goal, it gets talked about all over the news, in the front of the newspapers for a while. You hear about it all week. Because it's West Ham, not so much. And I tell you what stood out to me about that build-up, that moment, that goal. Bowen's forward finish, whilst it was fantastic, it was brilliant. Benrahma's ball, while that was brilliant and fantastic, the way that Antonio chased that ball down to actually get it up the pitch to start it is essential. And that is exactly the type of thing that will win us games and make us chances. Is players not dropping their arms, not putting their head down thinking, I'm not going to win that. Chasing the ball down and going for every single chance. And that's where we can flourish, and that's where we create chances like that. Literally, Bowen sprinted. I think it must have been 80 yards or so to join that counter attack. And then when Ben Rama put that across the left, it was a superb ball. Like, that's so cute from Ben. That's like the Ben Rama of old, like the Ben Rama that we thought we were going to sign. So, if we can play like that continually, and in my opinion, this type of football is interesting. I actually really enjoy low block football. I think, especially, it's like we had a couple of lads on the Spaces the other night, didn't we? And they were talking about, obviously, when it works, it's so much more enjoyable. And of course, that's the case. I mean, I really enjoy watching us sitting in deep, defending professionally. And I think there's nothing more exciting than a counter attack. I think it's absolutely enthralling watching a player run 80 yards of the pitch and think, oh, is he going to put this away?
The only thing I will say, before I do say that, please do smash a like on the video. I'm going to try and get 100 likes today. I'm up to 48. Get me to 100 likes, people. I really would appreciate it. Yeah. One thing I am going to say on this, is I care about winning games of football. As a fan, West Ham United is my team. Like, it's everyone's team here in the chat. Tay's team. It's our team. Come a Saturday or a Sunday or Friday, for instance, when West Ham are playing, I want West Ham to win the game. I don't want West Ham to be pretty football, look good, and then have nothing about them. It's like having a Ferrari on the outside, but on the inside, you've got a Robin Reliant engine. Do you know what I mean? There's no point.
I think the fans are waking up to this as well, because did you? I'm not sure if you watched West Ham Fan TV did a post-match reaction, and Nick Marsh, who's normally been quite critical of the manager Moyes, same with Mickey Hawkins, the whole lot of them, to be fair, even they said, listen, we've been fickle to Moyes. Football's a fickle game. And today it worked. And obviously at Chelsea it worked. And I think fans are now starting to come round to the idea. Obviously it's all because the results are coming through the door. But I think fans are really actually open to accepting this style of play when they see transitions like what we saw from Antonio and Prowse, like what we saw from Antonio to Benny to Jared. I think fans are warming to it. I really do. I think it's the only people who are complaining about this style of football at the moment are people who simply just hate David Moyes. I don't think it's got anything to do with the football, to be quite honest.
The only thing I will say on this, just to counter that to a point, is that how do we get on if we go 1-0 down? That's the only question that I need answering by West Ham. If West Ham go 1-0 down, they can't play a low block. They're going to have to come out. They're going to have to attack. Now, I'm going to be honest. I think we've got the attacking players to start on the front foot and go through teams. I really do. But if West Ham was setting up at Brighton, a team that we've never beaten, a team that every time we go there, we get done every single time by being naive, because that's what we are. We're being a naive club at the minute by trying to go through teams when really they need to play into our hands. I can accept that from Moyes if we're winning games of football. The moment I can't accept that is when we're getting beat every single week. And the best way of summing it up, the other day I was in a pub. I was out with family and everything, and I was watching the Sheffield United Man City game, and I'm looking at Sheffield United. They've got 17% possession. They are defending for their lives, literally defending, kicking the ball away from Man City. Ball's getting recycled back up the other end, away, like just all the time. I don't see that with West Ham. I see when West Ham do eventually break out, they look quite good on the break.
Controlled. It's controlled, isn't it? It's controlled.
It's like a counter puncher, isn't it? Like, or let's use a boxing term, for instance, like Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather was the master of defence. Like, he was a master of defence for a reason, because his defence was the main important thing, and then he would attack when teams or opponents were weighed down.
I don't know if you feel the same way as I do, but even up until the goal, I was quite comfortable in what we were playing at Brighton. I think we soaked up the pressure well. I think we completely shut them down out through the middle. They had no way to come through the middle of us. They could only play out to the flanks, and in which was the case. Matoma, fantastic footballer, got shut down by Vladimir Sofal mostly every time. So I think it's we're controlled out of possession so well as a defensive unit, as a disciplinary unit, that I'm not worried about us sitting in a low block. I haven't really felt too threatened
bar Chelsea. Chelsea had me slightly worried because their pace is just blistering, and trust me, we won't see many games like Chelsea and what their wingers were able to do to our fullbacks. Sterling and Mudryk are some of the fastest players in the Premier League, so I'm not really too worried about that side of the coin. But I think going forward, it's just going to be a case of we have to see what comes by game. How are we going to deal with teams actually sitting off us? Personally, I think we'll be absolutely fine. The amount of ball carries that we've got in this team now, Mohamed Kudus, potentially Jesse Lingard coming back through, Jared Bowen, I think we're really cook. I think that's what Moyes is preparing for as well. We're seeing these forward targets being identified now, because we're not only looking to work well as a defensive unit and hit on the break, but we're also looking to take it to teams when the ball's in our court too.
See, the thing is, Tay, I look at it like this, I'm going to get to a few comments in a minute because I see a couple of good comments, First, let's get to this one. As a West Ham addict since 1971, I don't like the style, but I love winning football. I agree on that.
That's it, yeah, that's it.
Johnny Mack says here, Arsenal beat City last year at City with 33% possession.
Also, when Brighton played Arsenal last year and did them over 4-2, Arsenal had barely any of the ball. They barely touched the ball. So I don't understand why that we're held to such an entirely different standard just because we're West Ham. I mean, if Arsenal are going there, who play some of the best attacking football in the league, if not second to City, and they concede similar possession stats than we do, granted it's probably not as much, but still they concede the majority of possession. How can West Ham be expected to do that when we're not even that type of team?
Yeah, but the thing is, I agree on that. I do, But when people say about how we're going to handle it against a low block, we've got people in our team who can deliver balls into the box now. Like we've got goals from everywhere. Right? If teams press us and literally try and we can defend. Like one thing with West Ham, as a West Ham fan for many years, I've seen West Ham crumble under pressure, big time. And sometimes our defence ain't worth time of day. When I look at us, we're very hard to beat, which I like. I don't want West Ham to be a soft touch. I've always said we need pace on the break. Like we can't keep relying on Jared Bowen or a Mikel Antonio, because if Mickey's not on it, then it's down to Bowen. Then we've got no one. When I look at us now, bringing in Kudus just changes that for me all day long, because he's a ball carrier. Jesse Lingard's a ball carrier. Bowen's a ball carrier. So we've got a few ball carriers in our team who can get us up the pitch lively. I just think people get this sort of idea that it's bad football and they want to be entertained. Now, that's all well and good, but I want to see West Ham win games. Do you know what I mean? I can't sit there and say having 44% possession but losing 3-1. It's just, I don't get the mentality. Basically, that's the word I'm looking for. I don't get the mentality of trying to play to win rather than play to entertain. That's what it seems like to me.
For me, I've kind of stopped talking. I mean, you saw me last year, James. I was such a passionate young man. I was fighting David Moyes' corner when the chips, shit hit the fan and the chips were down. I don't feel the need to do that anymore. I feel as though people are coming around to it on their own terms now. And I think the type of person that we're talking about here, I don't think they're as prevalent really as they used to be. I think when you actually have, outlets like West Ham Fan TV and people being interviewed outside of the ground saying, listen, we were wrong about Moyes, long let it continue. These are the people we need to be listening to, because obviously these are the guys going to the games. These are the guys who watch it on the regular. And I think to pinpoint a very small minority of fans who probably still think that way about the game, it's probably just a waste of your time and my time, mate, because let's be honest, I think most fans that we've spoken to as well have actually come round and said, listen, for as long as Moyes can play this and it works and it wins, long may it continue. And I think that's what the average fan thinks.
I think so. I was speaking to a few people the other day, and someone actually said to me, I don't understand why people are so Moyes out, James. He said, and he's not involved in YouTube or anything. It's just a geezer I know, And I turned around and said basically what I've always said on Spaces and on here. I said I can give him benefit of the doubt for one bad season. I really can. It just feels to me that people would rather be entertained rather than win. And for me, I think my attitude is West Ham have just won a trophy by winning games of football. Do you know what I'm saying?
Is winning not the ultimate form of entertainment? I don't know. I would much rather win a game with fucking 1% possession and come away thinking, wow, we've just shithoused that. I'd be buzzing for a couple of hours and have a great weekend rather than
the argument I keep hearing,
get slapped.
Right, the argument I keep hearing is this, and I understand it. I do from the people who are not liking the style. I get it, yeah. But when someone is doing well and they're doing very good in what they're doing, and whether you like the style or not, it is effective, especially for us. Like especially Bowen's second goal the other day. Like it's just ball moves out straight to Benny. And listen, I watched that back a few times, and Ben Romer played that pass. He waited for Bowen to arrive before that pass come in. And what people are saying is it's not sustainable. Like you can't sustain that over a period of time. What happens if you play a better team and we're going to keep defending, we're going to pick up injuries and all that? I get that to a point, but we go to Luton on Friday night and we've got 18% possession, then I would go, yes, it's not right. But when you're going to Brighton away, who we've never beaten, they've just slapped two teams, 8 goals in 2 games. You've got to play the game. Like you've got to play the game, and I think people are being naive. People are naive to think, well, we're just going to go up there, and we're West Ham United.
I will
turn over.
Don't be surprised when you see the return of the 4-3-3 and we hit some teams this season, because I don't think this is going to be how we set up every single game. I really 100%. Don't. I think with the hitters, the absolute hitters that we've got now in Kudus, and another forward who may be coming in Yuri Alberto, we've got some fantastic midfield maestro in James Ward-Prowse. I think we're going to be a problem for teams, and I think Moyes is going to be more comfortable going to a game like Luton, perhaps maybe soaking up the pressure for 20 minutes, but then he'll probably look to hit them where he can. I do think that it's not going to be like this every game.
See, I just want to get to that comment, You could argue that our style cost us 2 points against Bournemouth, Slightly disagree on that, because the goal they scored was the most flukiest goal going.
It was.
It was one of the flukiest goals going. Don't get me wrong, I don't not disagree with it that we was sitting back and we was inviting them on. I will say that. Right, we weren't really getting out after we scored. Right, I can agree with that sort of point. But then, wouldn't you say the style of play helped win us the game against Chelsea when we went down to 10?
I've got to say, we had Souček and who was it in midfield playing with him in that game?
We had Souček, Paqueta, and Fornals as a three.
Souček and Fornals, a complete ragtag midfield. I think we went there with the exact right idea, to be quite honest.
Also, I just want to say this, a week before then, we absolutely got slapped by Leverkusen. So the boys' confidence wouldn't have been as high as it is right now. Also, I think bringing in Edison Alvarez when we did against Brighton, a man that can switch from midfield to defence in and out of possession, I think is absolutely. I think he's the best sign of the lot, and that's coming from me.
No, I agree. I think he's the heart and soul of that team, and the way that we're able to function as a defensive unit. And I'd like to just read out this quote from Emerson, because I think this epitomises the type of player that we've signed this season, and it's actually on Alvarez. Emerson says he's an animal because in training and in the warm-ups, he's like he is in the games. He wants to put 100% effort in all the time. When you have a guy like this who wants to fight and run for everyone, it makes something that everyone wants to do. He's our teammate, and when Alvarez does things, we want to do it too. Does that not sound like a captain, a leader, a character, a man who can drive a defensive unit to sit back and concede possession and do it well? For me, absolutely.
I just want to get to this comment, right? Also, before we do wrap this up in a minute, because I know I'm taking up Tay's time, but I want to get your comments, and any comments you got, by all means, But I'll see this comment, and I'm going to read it out. You earn respect after 3 games, Moyes. Has earned it, but it's early. Let's see after 10. But let's put it this way. If we go to Luton, and we just say we draw the game, getting 8 points from 4 games at the start of the season isn't a bad return. It really is.
If you told me that at the start of the season, I would have snapped your hand off for it. Absolutely
so would I.
Bitten it off for it.
If someone, mate, I
Yeah.
thought we would be lucky to get 6 or 5.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
exactly.
So to go and get 8, right? And this is me just saying as a draw. I expect West Ham to go to Luton and smash Luton to bits. I'm not even going to lie. Well, I'm that confident. I've seen the betting odds for it, and West Ham are favourites, but they're a bit iffy because it's Luton's first home game. I disagree. I think West Ham will go there and do a job big time after what I see the other day. If we play Manchester City and Liverpool and the result doesn't go our way, I hope fans ain't just going to go, oh, look, see, it didn't work against these teams, because these teams are elite teams. Right? Do you know what I'm saying?
They're just, the thing is, though, I don't even consider them actual football fans. I think these guys are obviously fans of the club, but they're just they're just looking for a stick to beat Moyes with. Because any realistic fan there goes, listen, wasn't our day today, but we've had some decent results. Let's get behind the team and let's go for the next one. That's what I think. I can understand it if it's a run of games, say we lose 5, 6 in a row, and then you start getting up in arms about the manager. Personally, even then, I still back him. That's just the way I am. But I think if we go and we lose to Luton and people are on the manager's case again, you're not angry at the football. You're probably not even angry that much at the result. You're just angry at Moyes, and you're just looking for a stick to beat.
Do you know what? I'm just going to say this, yeah, and then we'll wrap this up. I think I'm seeing a different West Ham than I've ever seen in my life. I've seen us good in COVID, but I think we look stronger all around the park, if I'm being honest. Once we add the strikers to the mix, then I think we are a very strong side. And if you do go for our side, like Mavropanos, Alvarez, Kudus, if Lingard turns up, and let's be honest, if Lingard turns up and beats the Lingard of a couple of years ago, then wow, yeah. But that's a big if on him. We need strikers. And I just think we look stronger. We look stronger in defence. James Ward-Prowse is an excellent addition. Like, do you know what I mean? And look at, someone put a sort of stat out the other day. They said Edison Alvarez, James Ward-Prowse, Kudus, 100 million for them 3. Like,
yeah. And if you talk about we've replaced Declan Rice with those 3 players, it's honestly, we've gone from a team of a one-man band, a jack of all trades who was doing many jobs for us, to a team of specialists of their own position. And it's allowed us to build off of, we're not just reliant on one man anymore. It doesn't matter whether Declan Rice turns up or not anymore, because it matters if 3, 4, 5 players turn up. And I like those odds a lot better. It makes for more sustainable football. And I think what we're going to see, and for as much as people can say I'm getting ahead of myself, whatever, I genuinely think West Ham will probably get top 8 this season. I think the football that we're playing is sustainable. I think we're going to be extremely hard to break down. I think we're an absolute nightmare for most top teams. And I feel changes in the air for West Ham. And I'm not sure if you'll remember this, James, but I said it to you a couple of weeks back when no players were actually coming through at the time and it looked a little bit doom and gloom to West Ham. I said that West Ham are 3 to 4 quality players away from having a fantastic side.
Yeah, yeah.
And I say that because I think the foundations are there. You look at players like Kurt Zouma, again, fantastic defenders. Players like Jared Bowen, absolutely class. I mean, even talk of Liverpool going in from now, but we'll see about that one. But I know we're trying to wrap up here, but what I'm saying is please just get behind this team, get behind the manager, get behind the players, and just enjoy it, man. I think we're in for some of the best months of football likely that we've ever seen in our lives. I genuinely believe that.
For me, to round it up, I actually see something different in West Ham. I see a lot of fighters in the team. Listen, Declan Rice was a good servant to West Ham, and he really was. Yeah, for the time he was here, for the 6 years that he was here, he was extremely good, and he's gone on to other things. I think I say better things, because I think at the minute we're a much better project right now, right the way we're bringing in players.
Yeah.
But that's me being bitter. But I'm going to say this, yeah, we look stronger. We just look stronger as a team. We look like we've got a lot of bastards in our team, which I keep saying, which I do like. You've got people that don't mind getting stuck in. I think West Ham was an easy touch last season, yeah, and teams knew how to sort of get through us, yeah. I don't see that with this team right now, yeah. Chelsea, people will look at the Chelsea game and say, you know what, we was lucky against Chelsea, but you got to make your own luck and all. Like, we was unlucky to go down to 10 men. right? And look how we defended with 10 men. Like, and West Ham used to fold under pressure, like massively fold under pressure, especially with 10 men, and we didn't. So you got to give some credit to the to the manager, to the players, and some of the fans have got to sort of just see how it goes. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not on Friday. I just look at it like this: we go to Luton, we are favourites. We're going to have to try and break this team down. It's going to be interesting, as I always say, about how we're going to cope if we go a goal down, because that's the question that needs to be answered by me, really. Like, I need to know like how we're going to turn that sort of low block style into an attacking style to get back into the game. Now, it can be done, but obviously we need to see it. Do you know what I'm saying? Obviously, I'd like West Ham to score first in every single game, but there's going to come a time when we ain't. So, you know,
I think, I think you're right. I think it's going to be an interesting game. West Ham have mostly not been the favourites going into the opening game. So let's see what happens when the shoe's on the other foot. My official prediction, I think we're going to roll over them personally, but that remains to be seen.
Yeah, currently West Ham are 3-4 with the bookmakers currently. So if I was anyone right now, I'd go and get on West Ham -1 goal, because I think we're going to do this team quite comfortably. If I'm being honest, I think Luton. I will be doing. Lads will be doing a preview in the week, and I'll be talking about it towards the back end of the week. But I'll just say my little bit now. I just think West Ham are just too strong for this team, and the way we done Brighton the other day, I expect us to do the same sort of job to Luton. And if we have 35% possession and we win the game 2-0, I don't care. Just win. It's all about the win at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? It is what it is. Right, I'm going to wrap it up there. Tay, thank you very much for coming on. Do hang around. I will speak to you shortly. And listen, special like on the video, subscribe to each one his own TV. The boys will be back during the week. Alfie and Lucas doing a tactical analysis on the members. Mitch and Lucas doing the preview. I'll be doing something during the week also. Trust me, there's no way I'm getting out of it, and we'll see what happens there. Anyway, from me to you, take care of yourselves and each other.
Sweet.